All right, let's do it live on a Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. 2 weekends in a row, the NFL delivers at the highest level. Last week, you're not going to do better than last weekend, but this was close. 2 great games. Felt like in both instances, the teams that ended up losing were going to win, and yet in the end, you end up with Bengals and Rams. My goodness, who would have thunk that? How you living, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Obviously sad to not be with you as we're doing a little mini quarantine right now, but I will be back shortly. Post haste. I can't wait.
2
to
weeks?
get back
Is that
to you,
what
but
we're
also,
looking at? We're on a 2-day
no,
quarantine out of you?
no.
2-week quarantine out of you?
Yeah, two day. I don't even. I want to get in there. We got the gym back. I wanted to get in the gym more than anything. Be around you guys, get in the gym, hear some stories.
Flex. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is no fun, but got to give a quick little shout out. Today is the 72nd birthday of the official Nana of Cleveland Browns Daily. So happy birthday, Mom. Nana, yes, glorious, who requested, believe it or not, a brisket for her birthday, which if you would have told me that 5 years ago would have been the most stupefying thing because my mom had not eaten red meat for basically my entire life. And then a couple years ago, I was like, yeah, I'll eat meat. She did. I think she needed the G's of P and the iron and all that stuff, and so she's like, "All right, I'll do it."
So
and
what?
Now she's
Previously,
for her birthday.
What was the protein? If she had protein, or was she vegetarian?
Oh boy, salmon. I think she might have had some salmon.
Ran a lot of fish at people.
She wasn't somebody whose food you paid attention to very often. You know what I mean? Like
I do. Yeah, I do. That makes sense. I think salmon. Salmon at a young age gives fish a bad name. Because salmon,
Agreed.
Good salmon I think it's fine. It's just fine. But it's too often average salmon wrecks fish for people because there's a lot of great fish out there, and it's wrecked by people having average salmon when they're young and they think, well, this is all fish is this.
It's gross, yeah. And I still stay away from salmon, but I eat all the fish. But anyway, happy birthday, Mom. The brisket's been going for 24 hours, made a little glaze for it with a little molasses, some liquid smoke, and soy sauce.
I like it.
Slathered on there, and so it'll be it's smelling pretty good in here, to be honest. So I think it's going to be real nice later.
Lieutenant Davidson just walked by. I'll paint the picture for the things you missed today. He's booted up.
Oh, sad.
Ready to go.
Of course he is. Of course he's ready to go. But back to your original point. Listen, unbelievable games, for the Chiefs to score touchdowns on their first 3 possessions and then not again was stunning.
So let's do this. Let's start here. Let's do this. Let's start with that game. And as you look back on that game, do you view it as you blew it, boy, Kansas City, or good Lord, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati, what are you capable of? Probably a lethal combination of both, I suppose.
It's probably a little bit of both, but I mean, when you're ahead, 21-3? Weren't they at 21-3?
21-3. Yeah. Then they get the play to P. Ryan, and they make it 21-10. But then they get the ball back and go right down the field.
And then Mahomes asks for one more play, and then inexplicably throws a backwards pass in the field of play. You take those 3 points off the board. Obviously, those would have been a big 3 points late in the game. Yeah. And then if you were going to tell – they blew it. They blew it, boy. It is more that they blew it. And, of course, the Bengals did what they needed to do to win the game. I will give tons of credit to the Bengals. You have a star like Jamar Chase that you just go to on third down and like, look, I'm just throwing you the ball, and you're going to somehow create enough room for the ball to get to, and you're going to catch it. But come on, let's be real. 21-3. You're the Chiefs at home. That game should be good night, Irene.
Yeah.
The fact that they couldn't adjust to the 3-man spy rush that was put forth by the Bengals over the second half was crazy. But, I mean, this encapsulates it all. They had it first and goal at the 5 with a touchdown to win and end up kicking a 44-yard field goal.
Yep.
That's insane. And he could have blown it right there, pirouetting around. And he made the one play where he
fumbled it on the third down. I mean, they're lucky they recovered it and got a chance to kick it.
Yes. Butker was nails. That was right down the middle. But, yeah, they blew it.
I think I think now you're looking at a couple of games in a row from Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl where he got chased a lot. And then this game in the AFC Championship game. And this he reverted back to early season Mahomes in this game where it was almost like he wouldn't take the easy stuff. Everything had to be a home run. and he thought he could evade all that rush all the time and play like Madden, and you just can't in the league. And you got to give the credit to the Bengals defensively. I mean, this was an all three phases AFC championship for the Bengals. And I'm not just talking about this game. I'm talking about winning the AFC. They have, I think if you're redrafting the NFL right now, it might be the number one draft pick duo is Burrow and Chase. They might be number one if you're redrafting duos in the NFL for the next 5 years right now. It's probably those two guys. So they got that. Defensively, guys off the scrap heap, they make the smart move with Hendrickson over Lawson, and Lawson gets hurt, so who knows? But we thought they overpaid for Hendrickson. He was great. Von Bell, Eli Apple. Eli Apple could have had a pick six, but it was Eli Apple who had the tackle on Tyreek Hill that kept that from going in, because Sam Monson actually tweeted out the screen grab. As the ball's coming out of Mahomes' hands, it's you'd bet a lot of money that Tyreek Hill was going to score. But Eli Apple's coming 1,000 miles an hour. He reads it and lights it up and gets the tackle on Tyreek Hill. If they score there, it's 28-10, and they get the ball at half. Hard to imagine it. The psychological damage that was done for them on that too, and was then given to the Bengals, it's hard to measure. And then the plays that he made. Oh, and then one last point on the Bengals, of course, McPherson doesn't miss. Doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, I'm so pissed off that they got Justin Tucker essentially. Great. Fantastic. Every game down to a kick. Division. Great. They're both in our division. Every time it comes down to a kick, it's down the middle. 52 yards. Doesn't matter. The kid's ice water. Doesn't miss. So it was all three phases for the Bengals. They won it, but yes, the Chiefs blew it. And now Mahomes ending 2 straight seasons where it was just the play was just stupefying. He should have had a pick six to end it in overtime. The deep ball that he sailed to Tyreek Hill was just there was no reason for it at that time. There was no reason to take that shot. And I do think it's fair to question that. But I also think that you have to acknowledge, and you and I talked about this in August. We've talked about it as the season went along. And, we use the word frisky with these Bengals. They're more than that. They're ahead of schedule, obviously. They just won the AFC. And they did an incredible job in roster building. They really did, because it's a mix of draft and scrap heap. And we had Paul DePodesta on here with us on Friday of last week. We asked him several questions about the passing game, about being explosive, all of those things. Cincinnati is that. They're that. You got to defend every blade of grass with that kid number one on the edge. And Burrow is so cool. His ability to step up as the pressure's going everywhere around him, to step up. Dude, he scrambled for first downs as the pressure was. His ability to step on the poppet, remain calm, get down, get first downs, stack first downs. He's Joe Cool. He really is. All right.
Let's get one ring, and then he's got to get 3 more. But Joe Cool is still the great one, Joe Montana. However, I love Joe Burrow.
Joe Burr.
Joe Burr.
B-U-R-R.
Like
Maybe that. Joe Burr. Yeah. He's something, though. I mean,
peanut butter. Yeah.
He's good. He's really good.
He's phenomenal, and he's fun to watch. And this Super Bowl is now going to be fun. Obviously, we'll talk about the Niners second. I wanted them to win. But you're going to crown somebody a first-time Super Bowl champion in terms of the quarterback. That's exciting to me. You're going to have, great stories, the young guy versus the old guy who got, out of Detroit and in his first year with all the pressure of the world upon him. And, Sean McVay, he's going to play for the Super Bowl, even though, again, I think the Niners kind of one big play in that one cost them significantly. But it was fun to watch. It was surreal to watch the Chiefs, and there's got to be some part of it that has to do, Mahomes is so likable, and he's so fun to watch play. And he did, we can criticize him for taking, some of the freelances and spinning around and throwing it up. He made one of the great touchdowns I've seen this year where he evaded like 38 guys, pirouetted, and then threw a touchdown to Tyreek Hill early in the game where you're just like, is it even fair?
You have to take the good and the bad. You take it all.
Yeah, what are you going to do with this guy? But I do think the champagne incident from last week, and there was a lot of anti-Chiefs sentiment around, certainly on Twitter yesterday, nobody wanted the Chiefs to win, which is crazy to me.
Well, the brother is so unlikable, and I think the sister, the wife is too. I just think that's probably it. I don't care about any of that. I love watching him play. Not. I think he's sensational to watch play. It was a wildly entertaining game. It's just two big moments in a row where it was like he tried to do a little too much, and I think it reverted, but I think most of the credit belongs to the Bengals on that front. I think Burrow could be the first quarterback in 2 years to go from number 1 overall to Super Bowl champion. That's unprecedented. He's also there's no precedent for this either. He would be the first player to be the first pick in the draft to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl. So that's never been done. This is the first number 1 pick versus number 1 pick Super Bowl since Cam and Peyton Manning. So it's the first time that's
Cam had the chance to do it and did not win that Super Bowl.
He did. Cam had the chance to do it, did not, failed to do it. Burrow's got the opportunity to do it. So that's where you stand on that front. Let's get to the other game and what happened there. Because in a way, you said the one thing. I'm assuming we're talking about the fourth quarter should have been interception that was essentially a punt.
Yes, I am talking about that. Jaquiski Tart, ball's thrown right to him. And he just drops it. And he's owned it on social media, and you could tell, then the next play is the 15-yard the 30-yard pass to Odell plus the 15, so it's 45 yards of field position when the Niners should have had the ball right there. There's a lot about that fourth quarter that obviously is very disturbing from a 49ers standpoint. Garoppolo throws the pick at the end, but for the most part was pretty good in this game. He's not he's not Joe Burrow, Mahomes, or Stafford. I think that's obvious. Why Cooper Kupp continued to be either in one-on-one coverage or open on third downs in any important situation boggled my mind while I watched that game. But, yeah, you catch that pick, you're getting that pick. That was the first play of the drive that ends up going 63 yards in 3 minutes. You'd have gotten that ball back right there at that point, 17-14 with about 9 minutes to go, your ball in probably pretty good field position. And I think that one was dropping that pick was just devastating. And then you could feel, they pick up 45 the chunk, and then you hold them to a field goal, which is great. But you just kind of had a feeling right there. I did anyway. And my dad and I both were like, when I was texting my dad and we were FaceTiming, I'm like, that's it. Like, you don't, in a game like this, when you have that kind of a moment, and you don't rebound from it. And they did not. They were not able to come back from it.
I'll tell you, the Rams had Kupp dropped a touchdown.
Yep.
When Stafford put it right on him. Who was the other receiver that got deep that dropped it? He had 2. The other one wasn't as bad as Kupp.
People are killing that guy. The Skronek or 18. That one was
The Kupp one was a straight-up drop for the best best receiver in the league. If he catches it, he scores. Totally. There was nobody out there in front of him. And then the other one was – there were 2 drops on one series for the Rams.
Yes.
That were –
and they had a pick in the end zone at the beginning of the game. I mean, you thought they were doing the things that you can't come back from. It was like – who's going to kind of choke it up last, and it turned out to be the 49ers. It turned out to be, unfortunately for them, and a lot's being made. I'm curious your opinion on it. A lot's being made about the 4th and 2. I like them to go for it there. I would have liked it, but people, it's so funny. 4th downs are so tied into what the outcome, right?
Of course.
If he went for it and got it, and people seem to assume that by not going for it, like it was guaranteed he was going to get it, which it certainly, as we know, is not. They were right around 50% for the season. We've seen it with the Browns this year. We've seen it with the Chargers. Could it have mattered? Yeah, but at the same time, they punted, and the very first play after that punt should have been an interception. But it was dropped.
Yeah, I think everything that, from the Niners' perspective, they got about everything they wanted. The Rams were giving them the middle of the field to throw the football into for much of the game, and they just the turnovers you mentioned, the drops, the drop interception on the Niners side, the 2 drops from the Rams side of things, the interception in the end zone, all of those things. It just felt like it was all going San Francisco's way, and for them to be up 10 in the fourth quarter, I said, well, that's it. Pack your bags. And I think you tweeted me the Pedro emoji, and away we go. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like you were going to get Bengals and 49ers for the 3rd time, and maybe Joe Burrow would be able to finally exercise those demons that previous Bengals quarterbacks were not when playing in the 49ers in the Super Bowl. But you don't. You got to give a ton of credit. This is why, this validates everything McVay did. We said it last week. There was more pressure on McVay and to a certain extent Stafford than the rest of the teams combined. It was all on them. And he was staring down the barrel of 7 straight losses to Kyle. All of that stuff was starting to stack, and they pulled it out. And a drop certainly enables it, but Stafford made some throws in that game that's why they got him. Simple as that.
That one dime on 3rd down where Kupp ran across K'Wan Williams' face, and great coverage. The ball could really only be one spot, and he got it right into him. I thought, an incredible, I even texted, I think, dime, incredible pass right there. For Kendall Blanton to step in for them, the tight end, when Higbee goes down, that 5 catches for 57 yards was very, very impressive. Look, it was a good game all around. Garoppolo made some good throws in that one, and then at the end, you get that tip on first down would have made it second. If he doesn't tip that, it's probably 70-yard gain, second 3, and then you get to move the drive, right? And then you get to hurry up, and then that's where you get a little bit of the chaos going. And that fact that one was incomplete, and then you get knocked down, and then the line, the Rams got after him at the end, that was it. And he tried to make a little flip out there and pick, and that's the ball game. Yeah, you have to tip your cap to the Rams. I don't think that was by the way, this is a case of outcome changing. I don't think that was a great game for McVay. I mean, his challenges were abhorrent.
His challenge. I thought he was nervy. I thought he was panicky.
He was panicky.
Yep, he was panicky.
I mean, he didn't have a timeout.
He
left
called
for
a
10 minutes
screenplay. He ran right to Stafford to apologize. He called that ridiculous screenplay when they were driving down on third down. That I think it was Fred Werner just ate up. I mean, just ate it for lunch. Saw it coming from 1,000 miles away, and he raced out to Stafford to apologize to him. And it was like, no, I agree with you. I think that overall talent validates. I think one thing that will come out of this, though, and I think in certain instances it can be okay. I think that what the Rams have done here, now some of it's their location, clearly. Some of it is the fact that they were able to pull the trade for Stafford. But they don't have any first-round picks. They went and got all shiny objects. They got known commodities, and they gave up a lot of picks to get the known commodities. Well, they're playing for a Super Bowl. And it's a big, big, big-time gamble, but it's paid off. I mean, win or lose, it's paid off. They're playing in the Super Bowl again. And that's a pretty remarkable thing when you think about it. And maybe it'll cause some teams to think a little bit differently about how they value picks. Like sometimes players that are established greater than picks. And if you're close and they felt like they were close, you go all in. And they have. I mean, they are a superstar-laden team. They don't get there. I mean, even they don't get there without Odell. What do you have, 111 yards, 9 catches? I mean,
9 catches, 113 yards on 11 targets. For the playoffs, he's averaging 80 yards a game, a touchdown, and he's caught, I think, 19 of 23 targets.
And he's a necessity because without Robert Woods, they didn't have anybody else to do that. And obviously Stafford's confidence in him is growing, and he puts it on him, and Odell hauls it in. And so, it kind of had all of those things. I think for Kyle, and I mean, I know how how much he's certainly brilliant in every way, but his last 3 playoff losses, I saw Orlovsky tweet this morning, and then you think about his last 3 playoff losses, 0 points in the fourth quarter in all 3. That's stupefying for somebody as good as he is.
And I would say that I disagreed with some of the way that the game was managed at the end there. Take the punt out of it. I don't like that's. Those are decisions, and again, you punted the ball.
I don't mind that.
You got him back, and you got a pick on the next play that was dropped.
Yeah.
So that one I don't care about. You got to take the timeouts before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, no one does that. I don't understand
If he did that, he would have had 2 minutes and 20 seconds left plus the 2-minute warning and a timeout.
Yeah.
Instead, he had 150, and I mean it was a 20-second change. I don't understand that at all. It's that one, I'll tell you what, it's frustrating, and I'm guessing you're referring to this one. You're referring to the Super Bowl loss for the Niners and then the Super Bowl loss for the Falcons.
Yeah, and then the playoff loss to the Rams. It's like total outscored 53-0, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a stupefying thing, and he had one where I think he got too cute. And now Aikman I thought was phenomenal during this game.
I agree with you.
When he pointed out that, when they did the pull action with Williams off of the wing and then they tried to give it inside to Juszczyk, like that should have worked. He goes, that was the right play call. There's no way that should have been – they could not have foreseen that coming, and it didn't work. But that was, again, a critical play right there because that was the third down right before that fourth down. And it's funny that what I love about these games the last 2 weekends, you have seen – football games that come down to a play here, a play there, and sometimes they feel like innocuous plays, but they end up being massive, massive plays. I mean, the Niners stopped them on 4th and 1 on a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Never.
No. Everything went the way for the Niners that it should have, and I don't think it's an exaggeration anyway. Say the Rams are the more talented football team. Like, if you were going to take those two teams, you would take the Rams roster 100 times out of 100 over the Niners roster.
Yes.
So the Niners needed to catch some breaks, and then they needed to be better from a scheme standpoint and better from an execution standpoint. And they had that going for a little while, but You think about it, what do we say in the NFL? What we've been talking about, as you mentioned, we talked with Depot about this, and apparently we weren't specific enough for a lot of people. However, you ask about the passing game. Well, you need to have an elite passing game, and all that encompasses: quarterback, wide receiver, line, all of it, playmakers, explosiveness. The Rams ran it 29 times for 70 yards.
Yeah.
And they won this football game. Stafford 31 of 45, 337. Now Garoppolo 16 of 32, 32, and 2 touchdowns before that tip interception at the end. I mean, he was fine too, but they're a team that when they run 20 for 50, could they have won the game? Sure, but they still only scored 17 points.
Yeah.
Right? They're a team that needs that to enable what they do, which is why I think Garoppolo is an excellent quarterback, but Garoppolo is never going to be the guy that is going to totally put you on his back. Now,
he's not going to elevate you.
When everything else is wrong, he can't make everything right by
Correct.
himself.
He can't lift you out of it. Yeah.
But he's clutch, and I for sure thought they were going to at least get a field goal at the end. I really did. And it just, again, did not work in terms of, that outcome for them. And it was a bummer. I would have loved to see the Niners-Bengals. I'd have loved to see, Garoppolo, Burrow. But, this matchup proves more the point. It's about elite quarterbacks, and Matt Stafford is elite. And I don't even understand that. I realize on that play you could say, well, yeah, if they pick that off, perhaps, that's it. Maybe they lose the game. Maybe they do. But he dropped it, so we will never know that. But now,
plus, if you're going to do that, then you got to do the 2 that were dropped on his end.
Sure, you've got 2.
I mean, Kupp doesn't drop anything, and he dropped what would have been a score.
Yeah. Anyway, he made some great catches too.
No, I know. He's ridiculous. What do you have? 11?
11 for 142
Jeez.
and 2 touchdowns.
God. No.
How is he not doubled? How on a cover 2? They're playing cover 2. There's the corner on the outside on the first Kupp touchdown. He doesn't sink back and comes up to take Sony Michel in the flat on 3rd and 13. You want him to throw it to Sony Michel. It's exactly what you want him to do.
I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, it's 2 weekends in a row where the NFL delivers as big as
Amazing.
it can. The games were absolutely awesome. There was crazy stuff off the field as well. We will get into that. Gribbs will join at 2 o'clock. Have some of that hometown audio for you in the second hour of the program as well. We're off and running here on Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Now the weather's cold outside. Ice storms. Do we have ice storms this week? Did you guys see this? Ice storms coming?
We have more than that.
Tell us what we got.
I mean, all it says on the app is we're watching a winter storm coming. And it starts on Wednesday night through Friday when you hit the daily forecast. And it says 5 to 8 inches at night, at day, at night, at day.
Right. And we have 2 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Are we really going to be in 4 feet of snow? Is that where we're headed? With ice?
It's not a positive.
No.
I don't know what.
Although you took the over on March. This pretty much locks it in because a week ago we were talking 48 and rain, and now that's got turned into ice storm.
It is amazing that we've really had 2 weeks of winter. To be honest, the last 2 weeks have been winter.
Yeah,
we didn't really get anything.
No,
in December,
that's fair.
It stinks.
In January,
buckle
it's
up,
only
Buttercup.
been 2 weeks.
It's about ready to be worse.
Yeah,
I'm
it's going to
over
get a
it.
lot worse.
So hold on a second. You guys are gonna love this. So Miss K has forever she's got all these different seltzer waters or sparkling waters.
Yeah,
and
God bless her.
These different some other things or whatever. And we've always had in our garage, we have shelves and stuff, and we've stored a bunch of those
Her
things
drinks.
in there,
Her special drinks.
cases of them, cases of these drinks.
Can we call them Miss K's special drinks?
Yes, Miss K's special drinks.
Yeah.
Well, Miss K's special drinks are now a graveyard of
It froze.
drinks that froze and have exploded out of their cans, popped the tops off the cans, exploded, ripped
no.
right out of the side, like shrapnel, there are hundreds of them. All have exploded in this, and they're still in our garage. This is in the garage.
Jeez.
This is nonsense. This is stupid.
It is.
This is
I'm
dumb.
going to tell you what's going to make you feel better, though, a nice hot bath or shower. And that's where my friends at the Bath Authority can help. They can transform your bathroom into a custom bath. It's going to feel like a spa. Let the Bath Authority make this a reality for you. Even better, they can do it for a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority can transform your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Call now for a free estimate. Get 2 tickets to the Great Big Home and Garden Show, 216-220-8399, or click on bathauthority.com, and you can get some information on that. It's where affordability meets quality. It's Cleveland's bathrooms remodeling experts. Largest selection of bath products. They're all made in the United States. Tub to shower conversions, too. Guys, they can do this for you in about a day. Check them out, 216-220-8399 or thebathauthority.com. What do you guys make of we'll have much more on the championship games, obviously. What did you guys make of the Brady news Saturday?
I mean, when it gets reported like that, I thought he had retired. I thought that Tom Brady had retired from the National Football League. I thought it was stunning the way that it was done, that it was through Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington. And then Tommy never said such things, says Tom's dad. And now it's all chaos. I don't even know what to make of it. I honestly have no idea what to make of it. I think he is going to retire. I mean, I feel like you don't get to that point, but how does that happen? The way that it happened. And if he decides now, I'm not retiring?
Darlington is the one that, remember, a couple of years ago was the first to report he was going to Tampa. Darlington's in with someone in his camp. It might not be Tom, but Darlington is in with someone in that camp. The problem is, it hasn't been announced. Now, there's a podcast tonight. It's his Let's Go podcast on Sirius XM. With Larry Fitzgerald and
Jim Gray hosts
Jim Gray.
Crying out loud, it's like his last
that
remaining.
Guy still gets primetime stuff.
How is that even possible?
He still has a
Was
gig.
it Jim Gray at the decision?
Yes.
This is outrageous. If Jim Gray does the decision and Brady's retirement, outrageous.
All right.
Terrible.
So, a couple of things on this. I'm watching. This is a great weekend for sports. The Ohio State-Purdue game comes down to a buzzer. Jaden Ivey hits a 3 at the buzzer. That was stunning. Saturday evening, after we were done with some of the basketball, I was excited to watch Kansas and Kentucky. I mean, 2 blue bloods. My oldest loves Kentucky, so I was excited to watch that game. Kentucky just hammered Kansas, but that's not why I'm telling the story. At halftime, Reese Davis is doing the halftime show. So they bring Adam Schefter on. And Reese Davis asks him point blank, this has not been acknowledged by the Brady camp. Do you stand by your report? And Adam Schefter all Adam Schefter says is yes. And he stops talking. It was surreal.
All day. I mean, that led to a
They're still running
waterfall
it.
of things and stories, and my phone was getting push notifications right and left, and I'm like, oh, it's happening. And then I'm like, well, maybe it's not happening. And if it's not happening,
Okay.
is this a fireable offense?
Yes, I would say if you jump this.
It'd be like the 5th thing that he's gotten wrong.
Yeah, not great. Not a great run, Bob. Here's the other thing. Would you guys put it past Brady to play out of spite?
No.
Me either.
And I've seen many Curb Your Enthusiasm memes with Tom Brady's head on Larry David's body
Yep.
for spite. And even Seinfeld, because as you mentioned, that was an old Seinfeld thing.
Yep. Would not surprise me if he just said, you know what? I'm going to write my own retirement story. I'm coming back. Would not surprise me. It's not like he sucked. He threw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah. And now the Tampa Bay situation isn't attractive or appealing right now. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Godwin. You got Evans back, but
They'll keep Godwin.
Yeah.
Apparently that's
They'll figure it
what
out.
they
I mean,
want
if he's
to.
back, they'd figure it out, I think.
but when's he come back? That's the I mean, you got to go get
I don't know.
Brady a few
What does
more
he do
pieces.
tonight?
Hmm?
What does he do tonight? Does he come out and say, yeah, I'm retiring? He has to answer for it one way or the other.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy. This whole – and then there were a number of people. There was a large faction of people that came after Schefter and Darlington and were like, hey, why don't you let this guy announce it on his own terms?
I don't have it.
Why
Look,
don't you?
I know.
But it was like writers. It was.
I know.
I'm like, whoa, where is this coming
That's
from?
the business.
That's the business. I don't think that there's any – we're at a point now with instant – and by the way, I don't even know if it matters who breaks these stories anymore. It just matters that they're right. Nobody
Correct.
remembers who breaks anything anymore. There was a time in our business
No.
where it really mattered who broke it. Now it's more about being the person that people go to that want to know why it's important that the news is what it is.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Remember the whole filed to, when everything had to be filed to?
Yes.
Filed to ESPN, filed to Fox.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
done.
whatever.
Nobody cares. So all you want to know, all you want to be is one of the guys that people want to go to when news breaks, that your
Yeah.
opinion matters. That's the whole point of the thing. It's fascinating. I mean, he's got a lot of ears on that thing tonight. I don't know what is that on a. Does that go live on a Sirius channel?
It will actually air live tonight at 7. Normally it's pre-taped.
Okay,
It will be
well,
live at 7 o'clock tonight, and then that's on Sirius. It's on Mad Dog Sports
Maybe I'll
Radio.
convince Nana
smokes.
to. I'll convince Nana to tune into that for her.
That can be your
birthday party
homework for
tonight.
her birthday.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. We'll
Have
put
some
that on.
brisket. It'll be great.
Good for
Brisket,
Doggy getting that
lady.
juice. It's
Yeah.
a lot of good juice for Doggy. I like that. Yeah, so you got that crazy stuff on the coaching front. Brian Daboll, our guy hired by the Giants. Did you see the video of him getting out of that pickup truck? Have you guys seen that from this morning?
It's
Stunning.
It's stunning. It feels to me like we're in an era where there are just two types of individuals that are being tasked with coaching and even general managing organizations in the NFL, and they are easily identifiable the second that they talk or emerge from a vehicle.
Yeah, you're right. You have two. It's two different.
Someone
humans.
actually said he did drive down from Buffalo this morning. Is that? I mean,
that makes sense. I mean,
it would be because
I would
you-
get a little. I mean, sometimes a nice drive's good, right?
I mean, the Bears show up before the sun comes up.
Yeah.
So this guy's a little late to the party. But then at his presser this morning, did you hear him go after a New York reporter already?
I never think that's good.
No. I'll find the audio. I'll send it to Nick. The guy starts asking questions. He goes, did you walk in late? And the guy was like, yeah, I got here as quick as I could, with the traffic and the breaking news. And he's like, are we making excuses already?
Oh,
He goes, and the guy's like, all right, you want to go down that road.
I just don't think you want to start that. I just think that's
Nope.
There's no either way.
You're
there's
in New
no-
York,
there's
buddy.
There's no win there. So that job gets done. Of course, he was here as the offensive coordinator before, so our guy's starting to get all around the league. The Raiders appear to be hiring former Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels as their head coach. A deal could be done there, and the front office guy's a John Carroll guy too. So Josh is and the new front office guy there. They're both
That
John
was a
Carroll
name
guys.
that was bandied about when the Browns were going through their search, that it would be those two together, both from the Patriots organization. Yeah.
Do you guys think, like, if you're Josh, and you've waited, to get like the right spot, that place seems pretty chaotic to me right now.
It most certainly does. And do you even know what you're doing at quarterback? I mean,
that's what I mean.
Has to have an idea. Yeah.
What are you doing at quarterback? You've had to cut 2 first-round picks for off-field stuff, 2 recent first-round picks. The other first-round picks that you've had are not hitting. So it's a tough spot, to say the least. I just wonder, like, is he no longer in favor to replace Belichick in New England, clearly, or must not feel like he has that? Because he's always had that in his back pocket, right, that he was coach and waiting there?
Right, but at some point, doesn't it – it has to come. It kind of feels like is he any closer to that than he was 3 years ago?
I don't know. I can't get any
You know
read.
what I mean? Like,
no, I agree. I don't know.
Can I interest you in the John Carroll alumni currently in front offices or on coaching staffs in the NFL?
Go.
It's amazing.
Raiders coach Josh McDaniels, Raiders GM Dave Ziegler, Chargers GM Tom Telesco, Texans GM Nick Caserio, ex-Jags GM David Caldwell, ex-Colts GM Chris Polian, Ravens OC Greg Roman, and the Chargers Brandon Staley coached there.
It's kind of stunning.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely wild. But Don Shula was there, so that's it's in the blood. This is what they do. Yeah, it's what they do over there. Good job out of them. The the Jaguars have what a mess in Jacksonville. They want to interview offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell of the Rams, but they can't because they didn't request an interview in the initial interview period. What are you doing?
So how's that even possible? And does that mean Leftwich told him to go shove it?
That's what I wonder. That Leftwich said, "Hey, you're not going to get rid of Balky, so I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'll wait out Tampa Bay." Isn't that how you have to read that?
I mean, they're going to interview somebody that wasn't even on their initial list of candidates to interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, that means something.
I would say. And then the Vikings. Go ahead.
I was saying, I heard some wild stories because now you saw that Harbaugh is now wanting the Vikings to know that he's interested.
No. They interviewed him.
They interviewed him, yeah. So that he's got interest, and I guess he's in the mix or whatnot. But my point is he's still making it readily available that he wants to be in the NFL. That there are people who think what he's going to do is like he did that interview, resign from Michigan so that then Ross can hire him with the Dolphins, and it wouldn't have been that he took him from Michigan.
I mean, first of all, I don't know that many people at Michigan even would care at this point if he left. What I would say on that front, on the Harbaugh front, is does the University of Michigan have no guts? The sitting coach at Michigan has for a month done a dance with the NFL, begging anyone to interview him. He is conducting interviews as the sitting head coach at Michigan, and they're okay with it. They should have fired him and replaced him, forced a resignation. Why would you be okay with this? How the heck is he recruiting for Michigan right now? How is this possible? Can you imagine if this was happening at Ohio State? Ryan Day made it known in January, yeah, I really want to coach the NFL and I'm open to interview, and he just gets to sit there for a month and interview for NFL jobs?
But how do you what do you say?
It's insane.
Yeah, come to Ohio State. It's going to be great. I'm not going to be here, but it's going to be awesome.
It's absolutely bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. Now, Michigan did this to a certain extent previously. You remember in '89 on the basketball team. For the kids out there, you remember this, Z. Bill Frater was the coach of Michigan basketball. He had accepted a job, or I don't know if he'd accepted it, but it was well known that he was going to go to Arizona State and coach the basketball.
Accepted.
So he accepted the job at Arizona State. That's the way I remembered it. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this story, give me. So he takes the job at Arizona State. Bo Schembechler says, "You're not coaching Michigan anymore, pal. A Michigan man's going to coach Michigan." And he hires Steve Fisher to make him the interim head coach at Michigan. He says, "Bill Frater, get the hell out of here." Michigan goes on to win the national championship. Ramil Robinson hit a couple of free throws. Glenn Rice was outstanding to beat Seton Hall.
Rice.
And they win the national championship with Bill Frater because Bo Schembechler said, "Get out." And that's what they ought to do now.
On that team too?
Yeah, Loy Vaught, Glenn Rice, Ramil Robinson.
Think about those college. That's such a shame.
There's another one. There was they had Terry Mills. Terry Mills was on that team.
Yeah.
There's another big on that team, another big that I'm blanking on it. But Rob Pelinka, current Lakers GM, was on that team. But I just can't believe Michigan's letting that happen. I think it's just stunning that they're letting that happen. All right, we'll hand out some game balls. Okay, you got one more note? News and notes? Go ahead.
Real quick, yes. Something just came across my Twitter feed that I thought I would share.
Please.
Via Bet Online, these are the odds for where Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback in the year 2022.
Okay. Can I guess?
Yeah,
You want 4 favorites?
sure.
Saints?
Not on the list.
Really? Bucks?
Third.
Dolphins?
They're fifth, so not top 4.
Steelers?
First.
Okay, so what did I get? 2 of the 4? All right.
Steelers, football team are both plus 400. Bucks plus 550. Denver plus 600. Browns 12-1.
He's got to go to a warm weather.
Yes.
You can't. You
It goes
can't.
Steelers, football team, Bucks, Broncos, Dolphins, Panthers, Raiders. In a dome.
Panthers, Raiders, any of that makes more sense. You can't go to Pittsburgh and try. I mean, I think you'd have to have a lot of things to put him in position to succeed.
Colts way down at the bottom of the list, but he can run a team that can run the football and has a couple of big bodies at receiver. There's
No
doubt
question.
about that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, very interesting. All right, we'll hand out some game balls from the 2 winners. Also crown some goats. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau here for my friends at EOX Vantage. EOX Vantage connects core systems that don't talk, from reporting and analytics to insight and decision-making. Gain a more complete real-time picture of your business. Eliminate the Excel nightmares that we know you all have from the business processes. You can visualize your important data in one place. Gain real-time insight to make data-driven decisions on performance through role-based visualization dashboards. With EOX Vantage, you can benefit from lower overall costs, better alignment between technology and specific business needs, scalability, ease of deployment and management. EOX Vantage makes your data work smarter to move your business forward. You're about growth, and your software should be too. With EOX Vantage, it will be. I encourage you to check them out at www.eoxvantage.com for more information on that front. All right, game balls. AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. Let's just go chronologically. Who gets your game ball in the AFC Championship game?
I mean, it's got to be Joe Burrow, right? You got to give it to Joe Burrow. His ability to lead them back down 18, to not have that nobody wavering. I thought he was sensational in the game, and so I would give it to him. I think that's where you got to go. And then on a defensive side, are we doing all three phases for them for both of these teams?
Well, McPherson, I don't think you have to do all three. You want to do offense and defense. I think that's fair.
And then I would give it to Hendrickson. Around the quarterback a lot, sack and a half, and had, I thought, a big impact on that game. He and Hubbard combined for 3.5 sacks. I thought Hendrickson was around him a little more, but Hubbard's ability to go tackle in the open field. I mean, you can make case that Hubbard should get it as well. He had 8 tackles on the game, 2 sacks.
Yeah, I think you have it right with Burrow. I think so much of it's belief. I think that team would follow him to the gates of hell. I really do, and walk right through. I think they follow him anywhere. I think every one of them believes in him.
Stogie.
Yeah, they would. They'd light cigars and they'd walk in anywhere. He just has got a natural charisma and leadership, and it's stunning. His story doesn't make sense. It truly doesn't when you think where he was as a 15-year-old to where he is now. It's crazy. No one would have foreseen it. And then defensively, I like what you say about Hubbard. I thought Eli Apple's tackle on Tyreek Hill maybe saved everything. I mean, that was an incredible for a guy who's a scrap heap player and is a little annoying on Twitter. But, boy, from a big play perspective, that's a couple of weekends in a row where he's made some big ones. Von Bell on the pick, another former Buckeye on that one on the tip pick. And then Hubbard, who at one point was the best lacrosse player in the country, was going to go play lacrosse at Notre Dame, ends up at Ohio State. I remember doing the Urban Meyer show at the time, and Urban, as Sam, I'm pretty sure he redshirted as a freshman, if memory serves, but Urban would talk about him every week on his show because he's like, we got to figure out something to do with him. He came in as a safety. Like, he was a safety. At one point, he was a tight end. He was like an outside linebacker, and then they finally settled on defensive end, and their defensive line at one time had Nick Bosa, Chase Young, and Sam Hubbard all on the defensive line at Ohio State. So if you want to know how they were good during those runs, it starts there. How about in the Rams and 49ers game?
You've got to I think you have to give the game ball to Cooper Kupp. Stafford obviously would very much be deserving of it, but I thought, Cooper Kupp, 11 for 142, 2 touchdowns. When they needed a play on third down, they got it. When they needed a play in the red zone, he got it. And everybody knew it, and they couldn't stop him anyway. And then my defensive game ball is going to be given to a guy that was playing pickup basketball 3 weeks ago and just played every single snap for the Rams, led the team with 9 tackles. Eric Weddle, incredible. And a guy that is, everybody loves him that's played with him, any teammate of his, they all love him. So Eric Weddle gets my defensive game ball in it, and then, of course, the incomparable Cooper Kupp. But you could make the case for Beckham. He made the great catch. Obviously, Stafford, you could certainly say, deserved the game ball as well. But I'll go with Kupp, and I'll go with Eric Weddle. And just, like, that's a Hollywood movie story, he's doing.
It sure was. Yeah, I didn't think there's any way he could play viable snaps, having not played in that long. And he didn't have the speed to do it. It's the last time we saw him. I mean, that was why he was out of it. I just could not believe that he could put it together and have that type of impact that he had. Yeah, I mean, it was really, really special what happened on that front. There's a couple other things that I want to get to once we in the games, but let's just stay with this one for a second and this topic off the side. The NFL has been in Los Angeles back for a while now. And this was something they had to deal with a long time ago, and certainly when they played at the Coliseum, I remember vividly that Chiefs-Rams classic game when Mahomes burst on the scene. That was a home game for the Chiefs, rather. The Packers are home games when they play there. Everybody gets a home game. It's never going to change, I don't think, for the Chargers. I think they're just going to forever be a road game at home. But this was pretty staggering. It was awesome. Like, I liked it. It was loud for everything. It felt very much to me like a Florida-Georgia game or a Texas-Oklahoma game, like a neutral site game. But you invest a lot of money to put a team in Los Angeles, and you get a 49ers takeover like that. At best, it was 50-50. It looked 60-40 Niners to me.
It looked that way. I just thought it was cool because of the sound. Now, if they played, let's say, for example, if it was a Rams-Saints NFC Championship game, is it like that, or is it because it was Northern California, you can drive down there, it's very close proximity?
Saints are probably a tricky one just because of how small that area is, from a population standpoint. But I do think if it were Cowboys, it would be that way. If it were Eagles or Giants, it would be that way. If it were Washington, it would be that way. If it were any of the teams from the NFC North, every one of those would have had 50-50.
Part of it's the city.
Right,
Vegas
but if you're the LA, if you're LA and you're the NFL and you put this team there, more specifically, if you're the NFL and you put this team there, are you going, boy, is anybody ever going to get on board with this Rams thing? I mean, the Lakers suck. What are people in LA doing? Watching UCLA basketball?
Right.
I mean, I know the weather's great and all of that. I understand. But, it's a big city. You would think they could have home field for an NFC championship game.
You would think. And listen, I don't disagree with you. I certainly, I can say again, very much enjoyed it. I thought it was an awesome atmosphere.
I did too.
That he used silent counts, but
that's not in the brochure. The idea is you have home field. That's the idea. And if you don't, then something's not connecting there the way the league thought it would.
Correct. I think that's fair to say. And they very well may win it. And they might be the second team to win it in their home stadium in consecutive seasons after that never had happened before, which I think is one of the craziest factoids of this entire wacky season.
Yeah, that it
2
could
years
work
in a row,
out
you're going to have a team playing. I mean, if somehow the Chargers could have made it, you could have Rams-Chargers. It would have been outrageous.
This is how it's going to be in 2 weeks at the Super Bowl. The luxury boxes are going to be filled with L.A. and celebrities and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And the stadium's going to be the Bengals. That's what it's going to be.
So, I mean, I know you've been to multiple of these games. It feels like you at best can get a quarter of a stadium for the fans of an individual team.
Agreed. I just think it'll basically be obviously that's a half of true fans. So I would say 80% of the true fans will be Bengals.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, not that it's going to be loud. I mean, Super Bowls aren't particularly loud. They're kind of like, I don't know, soccer kind of has that effect. It's not. Everybody gets loud at the end. I've been at Super Bowls where I was at a couple of the Patriots ones where it comes down to the last drive, and it's everybody's loud in the last drive, but it's like for no reason for it to be.
So you and I were at the same Pats game in Indy, right? Pats Giants.
Yeah.
That was my first Super Bowl in the crowd for a game. I thought it was the weirdest thing ever. It's dead
off.
Silent,
it's dead
except
silent,
you hear a couple, cheers from the upper left corner or the upper right, the worst seats in the place where the fans are. Otherwise, it's a lot of schmoozing and people who are there because it's cool to be at the Super Bowl. At the end, you're right. You got a little bit of an environment, but you didn't get anything the environments that you're going to get this past weekend.
No, it's honestly one of the biggest fails of the game, I think, because it's not a fan game in any way. It's a television spectacle, and they crush that. But from an experience, the experience in the building is very tepid. I mean, it's
agreed.
Yeah, there's nothing special to it at all. All right, Gribbs is going to join us coming up here in a couple of minutes. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned, operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider, your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. With that, we're joined in studio here by our good buddy, Sir Andrew Gribble, senior staff writer. Boy, 2 weekends in a row, all the drama you could ever want. This one's different, though, in that the two teams that were both up big and you felt like were in control, the Niners up 10 in the fourth and the Chiefs up 21-3, both blow it, and the other teams deserve a lot of credit for that. Where do you – let's start AFC from your vantage point, Gribbs, in terms of is this what Kansas City didn't do or what Cincinnati did do?
I mean, I lean strongly in favor of what Kansas City didn't do in that second half, but Cincinnati was poised enough and confident enough to take advantage of every single mistake that Kansas City made. I mean, the mistake that Kansas City made at the end of the first half by not getting any points out of that situation when in most times they would get a touchdown. I mean, they're usually that team that overcomes that. I mean, they turned over the ball twice in the first half of that Steelers playoff game. It didn't matter. Usually that stuff doesn't matter for the Chiefs, but it mattered in that game. And then I think a lot of us, we focused obviously on the Browns in the first half of the season and didn't catch a lot of Kansas City's games in the first half of the season. But I imagine that's what their offense looked like when we couldn't figure out what's going wrong with the Chiefs. That second half offense is what probably was happening in the first half, and I just don't know what happened because they looked so good on those first three drives. And that's the kind of Chiefs play that you see over and over again. You're like, how does this team not win every game? How does this team not in the Super Bowl every year? And they just can't sustain it for some reason. And then that was maybe the end of that game is maybe the worst we've seen Patrick Mahomes look in kind of a crunch time situation that I can remember in the last few years.
It was wild.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier. The fact that, you have first and goal from the 5 with the Chiefs to win the game, and you end up kicking a 43-yard field goal to send it to overtime. Like, just that sequence alone was stupefying to me. I mean, when they're first and goal to 5, didn't you both think they're scoring touchdown, it's over?
I thought, to me, and I'll add this, I thought them and Tony Romo, I thought they were thinking too much about the clock. I thought they just score points. Yeah. Score a touchdown.
Well, they had no timeouts. Cincinnati had no timeouts at that point anyway, right?
Right,
they'd already burned them all.
It was like they were trying to thread the needle.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Like, just go. Yeah. By the way, I thought Romo was pretty dicey.
Yeah.
I thought Aikman was by far the best analyst.
Yeah.
I
thought Romo's had a rough stretch. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Mahomes. They're lucky they got the field goal. I mean, he put the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
In that instance. So, I mean, they're lucky they got the field goal at that point. This Bengals team, though, I mean, you got to give them credit. They are always there. There's no quit. There's a ton of give a damn. There's a ton of fight. They're unified. They believe. They'll follow Burrow anywhere, for crying out loud. His story, you want to talk about storybook, there's nothing more than that, what he's done in the last 6, 7, 8 years when you think about it, from the time he's in high school to now, and the idea that he's got. Think about this. I don't know anybody, and you were around the SEC for a long time. Do you know anybody who think Ed Orgeron's a great game coach?
No.
Great recruiter.
Yeah.
Everybody acknowledges that, but not great game coach. Before Joe Burrow got to Cincinnati, do you know anybody who thought Zach Taylor was a great game coach? I don't. He's got them both. He took Easy Ed over the top, and he's got Zach in a championship game.
Well, and I was saying this before we got on, but it's like the way they've played in this playoffs looks nothing like the way they finished the season.
No,
they looked lights out offensively to finish the regular season. They've not been that in the playoffs, but they've just made winning plays. Even in the first half of that game when they were losing 21-3, they kept weirdly converting third downs. And I was like, this is they keep extending these drives. Like they've been terrible on first and second down, but they keep extending these possessions. And eventually they just kept doing that. And it started to add up. And they just made so many winning plays in these playoffs and have currently the best kicker in the playoffs who's made a ton of field goals. Like, honestly, you told me that they had to kick this many field goals, you wouldn't think they'd be winning. But they just keep making enough plays in all of these games. And really, to me, that's what makes them scary going into the Super Bowl, because I don't think they've played their best yet compared to what they've played in the regular season yet to this point.
That's why these playoffs are fun. This is fun. It comes down to which team clutches up in the moment, which team makes the plays. And for the Bengals, they have found a way to do it whenever they have needed to do it. And I think that's what's exciting. You wonder if the Chiefs just used up all of their karma a week ago in terms of coming up with just outrageously clutch plays, play after play after play. And then the Niners, I go back to that dropped interception. That was a chance right there, I thought, to really not put it away because there still have been, 8 minutes left on the clock. But that was just a massive one, and then Stafford makes them pay after that. The defense comes up with a big play. That's why this is fun. This is tense football, and you're seeing players who you would normally think are immune to those types of situations struggling with them, and even a guy like Mahomes. And you go back and you say, all right, what he did against Buffalo was one of the most stupefying, sensational things you've ever seen. Now, there's no pressure there, right? Nobody's expecting that you're even going to get a field goal with 13 seconds left, and they do it, and then you've got all that momentum. But I thought it was incredible watching the game when it was announced that the Chiefs had won the coin toss, that the stadium erupted as though the touchdown had been scored.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand why they felt that way, and of course you would have cheered if it was your team and that was the situation. But for the Bengals to then withstand that, to almost have a pick six, then get a pick, and then immediately get right down there, and get the field goal. Now there's the Joe Mixon thing, which I know we'll discuss at some point, but just they're fun. And you're right, you can see, and the Niners have the belief in Garoppolo because they've done it so many times this year, but that belief is everything. And I think if you get to this point in the season, number one, you have to have great talent, but if your team doesn't have the belief in you as a quarterback, you have no chance. None. You wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I just thought, especially, I don't know what rattled Mahomes, but he just seemed rattled throughout the entire second half. And even on that third down that they picked off, like, why are you throwing it 40 yards down the field? You need 3rd and 10. Like, I mean, I just didn't understand it. It was like they were trying to make every play a huge play when they could just dink and no one was stopping Jerick McKinnon that entire game, and they just kind of went away from that kind of offense.
There was, early in the season when they were having their struggles, Z, maybe you can help me with this. I can't remember if it was one of the PFF guys or if it was Dan. Might have been Dan Orlovsky, one of the guys who does the social media breakdowns of what's happening and stuff. Were wildly critical of Mahomes because most teams were doing what the Bengals did yesterday. They were dropping and they were saying, take the layups, and Mahomes wouldn't take them. He kept trying to force it down the field and create more down the field and misdirection and all of that. And then about halfway through the season, he started taking the layups. And when he took the layups, that's when they went on their run. And that's why, the Bengals are the only team to beat them. They beat them twice in this stretch. They're the only ones to beat them. So now you say to yourself, well, what made him revert back to that? What made him revert back to thinking that he had to hit home runs on every play the way that he did? Guys, it was nothing short of stupefying, that last series in regulation for him. The 2 sacks he took, the idea that they have it there and he ends up with a 44-yard field goal, and lucky to get that because he fumbled it. That was from a big-time player who's universally regarded as the best at what he does in the world. That's about as anti-clutch as can be. It was a disaster.
So in this game, in the first half, he actually was kind of patient, I thought.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
They were writing about it, and they said, in the first half, the Bengals played, this is from Sharp Football, first half they played the Chiefs the way a ton of defenses had tried to with that too high shell like the Bills did. Mahomes was patient. 67% of his passes in the first half went between 1 and 10 air yards. He found holes in the defense, completed 85%, 10.5 an attempt, and 0.5 EPA per dropback. In the second half, so in the first half, they went against a 4-man rush. He was 11 of 12 for 132 yards and 3 touchdowns against a 4-man rush. But instead of trying to blitz more, what they did is they started doing a 3-man rush in the second half, and he went 3 of 18 for 15 yards with 4 sacks against a 3-man rush. Think about that. That's not supposed to happen. No sacks with a 4-man rush. They had 3 in the second half. They had 4 sacks on 12 dropbacks with a 3-man rush. And so in the first half, though, he was 4 or 5 for 57 against that 3-man rush. In the second half, they just stayed with it, 8 in coverage. They had a 4th rusher as a spy, knowing that when he's going to go around, and they shut him down. That's a crazy thing to think about. Like the one play, I think it was the second down from the goal line where he ends up taking a sack. And wasn't that when Romo's like, oh, my God, there's too much time? Or maybe the one where he lost 17 yards. He's like, there's too much time. It felt like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was the one where he just pirouetted and he ended up almost fumbling it. It was the third down one where Romo's going, this is not going to work. It's taking too long.
Yeah, that he's going to find somebody open. But
looks like he had Kelsey right away. Like if Hill goes in on the post, but Hill cut out for the corner, it looked like they had Hill on the in, and instead he went out. And then I thought he had Kelsey on the corner and just didn't throw it to him. It's hard to know, but
It's hard to know, but
it looked
the
like it.
18 snaps in the game that the Bengals played with a 3-man rush was the most for any team in a game in 2021. And half the time they played man behind it with just like a couple of safeties running around free to pick up if anybody, got open.
Yeah.
That's kind of a nothing to lose. That's kind of a nothing to lose adjustment by the Bengals because they were truly.
You've got to be able to run into that, right?
Yeah, they were playing as poorly defensively as you can. I mean, they gave up touchdowns on 3 straight drives and should have given up a 4th one right before the half.
Yeah,
and it was, I mean, just incredible adjustments by them, but it's kind of just mind-boggling to see a team that we see as invincible seeming as the Chiefs seemingly kind of have these moments every season. Even had it in the Super Bowl that they won. They had to like snap out of it at the end of that game to win it.
They only won a Super Bowl because of a blown coverage by Mosley on the Niners on a play that they practiced over and over and over and even told him, do not bite on this dig. Hill's running behind you. Stay back. And he bit on the dig anyway. And that's how they convert on a 4th down. Otherwise, they could be in Bill's territory, as you were saying earlier. The other interesting kind of strategy thing in this game was, and it was something you had talked about going into it, was the empties and how if they were going to go empty against the blitz and what they do. This was their second fewest snaps in empty for the season for the Bengals in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I wonder if that's something that's going to carry over this week because those guys cannot protect against this Rams line. I don't care how good he is at getting the ball out quickly, but I wonder if that's something that they're going to do in that game as well, is limit some of those empty looks just to make sure that they keep him safe.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that way. I mean, this is going to be a fun one to talk about. From our perspective, it's just fun to see new faces in this thing.
Totally.
Yeah. And it's hard to find. I've never found anybody say anything negative about Stafford other than Gibbe, who claims that he's injury prone. And I can't find anybody to say anything negative about Burrow either. Like, they're just both really, really well liked around the league and the people who deal with them. So it's easy to root for either team.
Yeah, and it's kind of a matchup that's kind of hard to peg at this point. This is kind of as even though some of these Super Bowls have been pretty close in recent years, you usually have someone entering the week as a clear favorite. I don't know, but I think Nathan brings up a good point. The pass rush of the Rams, like yesterday I'm watching that game, and I'll honestly say I'd never heard of Greg Gaines going into that game last night, and that guy was all over the field. I mean, they were disrupting everything, and it was like their defense in the 4th quarter all of a sudden realized, hey, look at all these players we have on this defense, and they started playing like it. I mean, they just like completely shut everything down that the 49ers were trying to do. It put Jimmy in kind of an impossible situation that they just weren't ready to handle.
As we, from our vantage point, our coaches front office, Shrine Bowl, they've been there, Gribbs, and then we've got Senior Bowl coming up as well. Just kind of paint a picture of where we are as we start to get preparing for the draft.
Yeah, the Shrine Bowl is it's a good experience. I think that it's getting built up a little bit more than it has been in years past. I think they're trying to elevate the quality of the game, so you're probably going to see a better level of player that's been there the past few years. So 4 of our coaches, Jeff Howard, Ashton Grant, Scott Peters, and I'm forgetting one other one. Who's the 4th, Nathan?
Peters, Cordell.
Cordell was the one I missed out on.
And
Jeff
Ashton Grant.
Yeah, so 4 coaches getting experience coaching at a higher level than they're currently at. So it's a great experience for those coaches. And then shifting to the Senior Bowl, that really gets rolling tomorrow with the practices. They've had all the measurements and things today, but high level of player. And I think there's I'm starting to kind of digest the players now, but not exactly the first-round wide receivers if you're looking at that position, but start a lot of the guys that will probably come off the board in the 2nd round. I think highlighted by the guy from Penn State, Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson
is down there. He's probably the biggest named wide receiver in that group. Some good defensive tackles as well, so a couple of good pass rushers, but you're looking for positions that kind of are involved to the Browns. You're looking at these are some of the guys you'd want to know going into day 2. For the draft.
I'm afraid what you're going to – well, I'm not afraid. I think the things that you're going to – I think you'll see 3 things in this draft and free agent thing that you're going to see. We got to get a Deebo Samuel. Well, good luck. Those don't exist. We got to get a Jamar Chase. Good luck. Those don't exist. And maybe even Micah Parsons. You might see some people say, oh, don't worry about position. Just get somebody. Those guys are all so unique individuals, Chase, Samuel, and Parsons, that trying to mimic that, I think. But I think you'll see a lot. I think you're going to see – you see how explosive this league has been in the postseason? I think there's going to be a run on I think there'll be more quarterbacks than you think in the first round, and I think there are more receivers than you think in the first round.
And Deebo was not kind of the instant sensation that Jamar Chase was. They kind of figured out what he was and have kind of maximized his strengths. The guy that gets compared to him, and probably it's going to be unfairly compared to him, is going to be Treylon Burks from Arkansas. He's the size, and you look at 6'3", 225. People say compare him to A.J. Brown as well.
Yeah.
But that's a unique situation that Deebo Samuel, if he was on maybe 31 other NFL teams, I don't know if he's doing the same things he's doing with the 49ers, where they figured out how to run the ball with him and things like that. I mean, I think a unique situation that they're kind of maximizing what he is as a player. He's an incredible player.
Yeah, certainly is. Good stuff, Gribbs.
No problem.
As always, our buddy Sir Andrew Gribble joining us here in studio. Coming up next, probably the most stupefying decision, and I want to know, more or less, the head honcho about what happened at the halftime show and how that happened, because he will know, because he's had to set these things up. I have an idea, but I want to hear it from him. We will get into that. And the Joe Mixon play that nobody's talking about, that's coming up as well. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up a loss. Always set limits before you bet. You can get more tips like that at keepitfunohio.com. All right, let's talk about the CBS halftime show of the AFC Championship game. Gibby, you've had to set up many a remote in your life. You've had to set up many a remote. What do you think happened?
I don't understand. Like, you go through dress rehearsals.
Yeah.
Like, you go through a lot of dress rehearsals.
Uh-huh.
There is communicate, like, they are installing a 2-story pop-up stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like at Fox, the Fox halftime show, you notice they just stood on the sideline.
Correct.
There was no – CBS had a 2-story stage. Like,
Yep.
it's a spaceship
Yep.
that folds down and folds up. You know where that is on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Who blatantly just ignores it and puts a 10-foot speaker right behind them? I don't
So it was
I
it
don't
was
know
dropped
who's
off by
at
a
fault.
John Deere trailer that it drove out there and put it literally in the middle of their set. It was stupefying.
So do you think that is an NFL mistake? Is it it's got to be.
Because the NFL takes over.
They
Once
take
you get
over.
to championship
Yes.
week,
Yep.
the league takes over.
Right.
But I don't understand, because I know the executive producer for the A crew. That's how when we have Nance on and things
Right.
like that, he's one of the best in the business. So either someone changed something last minute, which could totally be the case, or no one accounted for the fact that was going to be right there. But
That wouldn't be him though, would it? Because he does the game. Like, it would probably be the studio show producer that would have been producing that, right? Or would he have had oversight?
see, the problem is everything's on site.
Yeah.
So I almost think it becomes one guy, executive director, and producing the whole thing. I sat there and I'm looking. So at halftime, I'm like, okay, I had about 20 things I had to do around my house.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm doing stuff in breaks. I'm doing stuff. And all of a sudden, I just stopped what I was doing. I was helping my wife with something. I'm like, something is not right with this halftime show.
It was riveting.
And I walked out, and I'm like, oh, my God. I saw the speaker. Right away, I see the speaker, and I'm like, who put that there? Like, who? I mean, if I were a CBS guy.
Why didn't somebody stop him? Like, when they see him trailering the thing out, why don't you go, no, not here, Bob?
That's
down there.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. You know,
There's people that are all around there.
That stage was set up in the early afternoon because they were doing the pregame show from there.
Right.
So that was set up, and as Corey Kinder and Carlos will tell you, they rehearse all this.
Yeah.
So there is a rehearsal either the day before or the morning of.
Right.
Usually there's a morning of for a final run-through. So you know, how does someone not see that? If I were a CBS person, I would have walked over and unplugged that speaker. I'd have ripped out
they
the
should.
back of the cord.
Honestly, they should.
I
Okay,
would have.
but we're talking about, it wasn't just like a speaker. It's like when you go to a dome stadium and you look up and there's that giant curved thing that's like 20 speakers put
Yes.
together in one. It was one of those plopped on the ground on its side. And it was insane.
I have never seen anything like it ever.
And there's nowhere to
So-
pivot either,
No.
because
No.
all your eggs are in that basket.
So-
There's nowhere else to go.
When you're coming off the field, there's 13 minutes on the clock. The moment the majority of those people are off, that clock is running.
It's running.
And they're kicking off when that clock hits 0.
Mm-hmm.
You got 13 minutes. Now, the Super Bowl is way different. You have like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, you have 13 minutes. Like, there's nowhere to go. You got to just fight your way through it. But
It was. It was comedy.
And let's not forget, it was a chaotic end of the half.
Right.
Like, it ends on a play where they're trying to score a touchdown. Everybody's down at one end of the field, and I'm pretty sure at Arrowhead where they were was the exact opposite way of to get all the way, because the tunnels there's one tunnel, and it was on the exact opposite end zone. So I think it was chaotic. Like, did he get out of bounds? Was there enough time? It wasn't like a normal where the half just ends and everybody's like immediately walking with like 8 seconds as the clock's running and they're getting off quickly. And so I think it was just a little bit chaotic to begin with. But as soon as he saw it, and they're wearing double IFBs, which means like that's pumping right in your ear, like you get that. But so the IFBs, they said the IFBs, Boomer talked about on his show this morning, that in the double IFB they had, it was linked to the producer in one ear, but then it was linked to the mics that they had themselves,
Sure.
so that they could hear the other people, because they knew it was going to be loud and the concert's going on. Well, that it was so loud
Right.
that sound was actually going into their mics and thus into their ears even more. I mean, my favorite part is when JB goes, are they supposed to do some more pressure up the middle? He starts, and then he goes, they're telling me to do sign language right now. And you could tell he was so mad, but such a pro. And Boomer said when they first cranked the speakers that JB it shook his prompter and he almost like fell off of his chair because it was just such like an, oh my God, jolt that they weren't ready for. Burleson couldn't hear, so he just started dancing, which was the perfect thing to do. But when he started doing that, he's like, should they be blitzing more up the middle? And he did. I was crying. Kayla and I were watching this and just being like, man, total pros.
I've never
total pros.
ever seen anything like it. I don't know who would be at fault. I'm hoping Richard Deitch, the media guru, from a reporter standpoint, I hope someone is digging into this. Because,
him or Marchand will get it. Someone's got to get what happened.
By the way, the national anthem got messed up too.
Yeah,
I missed
a rough
that.
day for them.
It was not a great day from the sound.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it got loose.
No.
Got loose across
Got
the board.
a little loose.
Let me ask
just
you
like
this.
It is for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the mix and play in overtime. How does that not have a little more attention? Like the right team won. It's a weird play, but was Joe Mixon was clearly not touched while he was down. The ball is left. He just leaves the ball and then celebrates.
Well, it came out as he went down,
and he just keeps running like And I'm thinking in real time, I'm like, wait a sec, was he down? Like you don't even realize it. And then when I rewound it and looked at it, I thought, my God, that's a fumble.
Yeah. So I've rewatched that maybe 30 times. And my guess is what they would say is that he did make it a little bit of contact, but that was like 3 moves before he actually fell.
Right.
And he falls completely untouched. He's not falling to give himself up. The ball comes out from the ground, but the fact that it wasn't discussed, the fact that no attention was brought to it, I'm pretty sure there ended up being a timeout there anyway, because remember, Reed was talking to the officials, and I was assuming that's what he was talking about. I was actually on a text with the kid. The kid's like, that's a fumble. Like, Reed's going to get them to go look at this. And then it never happened. It wasn't mentioned. It wasn't talked about. No. Nothing, which is crazy to me. And the Chiefs had a clear recovery of it. Outcome is what the outcome should have been. By the way, the Chiefs look phenomenal in that all white with the black. That's a great uniform they're wearing right now. Just my 2 cents.
The Chiefs? Oh, the Bengals, you mean? The Bengals.
I'm sorry,
yes,
the Bengals.
yes,
the
yes.
Bengals uniform is just beautiful.
Yeah,
Hold
that's a good look.
on that mix and play, was it under 2 minutes?
No, it was an overtime.
No,
It was an overtime,
minutes.
so that has to come from upstairs anyways.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just think it was almost like, hey, let's not even acknowledge that we may have blown this. Like, let's just or inadvertent whistle. Who knows?
We were talking about it during the break. That's right up there with the Rams 49er game. The Rams multiple times, that play clock was at 0.
Yeah.
Like 0.5, almost 1 full second, 2 seconds after in that fourth quarter. And you're like,
are we going to play by the
maybe
rules
this
or
is
not?
synced up right. Maybe I'm not.
Well, that could be. That it wasn't synced up right on the television versus in the arena. I don't know. But that was crazy.
Aren't they like automatically synced? Isn't it like
you would think
one thing that feeds it?
You would think. Have you ever seen do you guys think, like, you saw the start, obviously, the NFC Championship game. Did they really time the buffer hit up to the kick?
I could not believe it was happening. I'm like,
I've never seen anything like it.
No, I've never. Who had the commissioner had to sign off on that? That's the only guy that could allow that.
Why? Is anybody clamoring for that? I mean, I couldn't believe that the timing of it actually worked, though, which was stunning that they had him. Like, can you imagine saying, okay, you got to kick it now? Like, didn't the Rams kick off?
Yes.
No,
Niners kicked off. I was like, no, I'm not going to try and time my run to the kick with this idiot's thing.
It was unbelievable. He did have a great mic, though. I've got mic envy. What a mic!
Yeah, that's a great mic. Except he came from below.
Came from below.
Yeah. But I just thought that was crazy. Like, if
ridiculous.
I were Kyle, I would be like, it was Kyle. I would have been like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we'll do it, and then we'll kick when we're ready to kick. Like, why are we going off of some guy's prompt?
I would have told my kicker, you go and kick the ball.
Go kick it whatever you want.
Go kick
You're
whenever.
You're going to listen to this guy and try and
guy.
time it up?
Once the official gives you the signal, just kick it.
Go.
Just kick it.
He looked like he was in an end zone, too. So was he behind them or was he ahead of them?
I have no idea.
I would have tried to kick him with the ball.
He was down at the far end. He was toward
where
the
kicking.
ball was going.
Yeah.
It's
man,
crazy.
That was nuts. And by the way, like, we know about that, but Does that resonate with the majority of the viewing audience?
That they tried to time that up?
No, Michael Buffer.
And just having Buffer in general.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know. I thought he was a thing like 20 years ago. I didn't even know he's still around
That's what
doing
I'm saying.
that.
I thought his son was doing it now. I don't know. He's got it trademarked, so we can't play it.
That was stunning. And then Buck goes, I bet he's never called an opening kickoff before. So Buck made a comment about it right for his first line of the game.
Yeah, he was not. No, he was not pleased by it at all. He and Troy both had they were good though. It was a really good broadcast out of both those guys. And Troy's a free agent, so a lot of good juice
Troy's
for him
at the top of his game right now. The right time.
Yeah, he is. All right, we'll play some of the highlights from the game from some of the various calls. That is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk & Elk, serious lawyers, serious issues. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case for you. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We like to play some highlights from some of the best radio calls over the weekend. Let's start in Cincinnati on the Bengals radio network. Here's Dan Horde and Dave Lapham on the big stop right before halftime.
From the 1-yard line with 5 seconds left in the half. Mahomes throws. Hill catches at the 6 and gets tackled inbounds, and the clock runs out.
Eli.
A very questionable decision by the Kansas City Chiefs. They threw it sideways to Tyreek Hill, and the Cheetah could not get in or get out of bounds. Eli Apple with a tackle at the 1, and the Bengals dodge a bullet.
Here is there's a theme I think you're going to hear on the Bengals ones. Here's another one from the Bengals radio network. Here's the Bengals game tying the game and then get the 2-point conversion.
3rd down and goal. The ball just inside the Kansas City 3. Shotgun snap to Burrow. Throws it into the end zone for Chase. He leaps. He's got it. Touchdown. Bengals with 14 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. And now the Bengals can go for 2 to try to tie this game. Trent Taylor goes in motion from right to left. He's in the game. Shotgun snap. Burrow throws for Taylor. Wide open. He's got it. Near the forward left pylon. It's a 2-point conversion. And the Bengals have climbed back from a 21-3 deficit to tie this game.
All right, one more, and then
hold on, real quick. Can we get that one again? I want to try to categorize all the sound. We got like a yaha, a yeehaw, a woohoo.
Well,
let me hit it 1 sec.
These do get kind of long, so we do you have that one popped up?
3rd down and goal. The ball just inside the Kansas City 3. Shotgun snap to Burrow. Throws it into the end zone for Chase. He leaps. He's got it. Touchdown.
All right, here's the game winner from Evan McPherson on the Bengals radio network.
4 years ago, he was a senior in high school in tiny Fort Payne, Alabama. Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up. It is good. Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam. That is unbelievable. The Cincinnati Bengals come from behind on the road. Unbelievable, Dan.
It is no fluke. It is a fact. The Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Super Bowl 56.
He is all over the calls.
He stole.
Oh my God,
he
that's
steals all of it.
He stole that field goal.
He stole every one of them. He steals every one of them.
He called it good before it was good. He's like, yes. And then that's ridiculous.
He's stepping all over him. I mean, just constantly.
Oh I'm stupefied. That's
don't.
unrealism. He had unrealism last week.
He did. Yeah, he did have unrealism. So then Lapham was on Dan Patrick?
Not this morning, but late last week I ended up finding it, and I was like, oh, this is great.
So
this was on Friday.
So Dan Patrick asked Dave Lapham if anyone has ever taught him about radio. That's the idea. And then this is Lapham's.
The question's part of the answer.
All right. So let's have a listen.
Did anybody ever teach you about radio, how to do this?
All I can say is John Stoller, when I first got the opportunity, he said, this is local radio. You remember Joe Nuxall?
Yeah.
With the Cincinnati Reds. And he said, I want you to do radio kind of like a fan sitting at a bar with a bunch of people and reacting like they would react and like Joe Nuxall. And I'm like, okay. So I just started doing it that way. Now, I've done network games for NFL and college football, and obviously it's a different dynamic, but that's what John Stoller wanted when I started doing local radio with the Cincinnati Bengals.
I mean, that's all great. That's all great. I mean, it's all great. I'm sure he's beloved down there. Like, these guys are beloved down there. There's no question. But, like, for the kids, this is not what you want to do when it comes to basically stealing everything from the play-by-play guy.
I mean, the greatest moment that Dan Horde might have as an announcer, gone.
Taken.
God, he didn't even get to say what the field goal being good meant. It was taken.
He's got to have – I mean, he's got to be like – Dan Horde's got to be like a Clydesdale to just try to keep – because he's constantly interrupted. Like, to be able to just stay tunnel vision on the next thing, you just have to plow through because it's constantly being interrupted, and your lines are constantly being trumped by live analysis from him.
And sounds.
It's so good.
It's crazy, man. It's great.
That's wild.
All right, here's this is from 106.5, the Wolf in Kansas City on the Bengals game-winning kick. So this is the agony of defeat.
Short field goal at just 31-yard attempt. McPherson's kick is up. It is good, and the Cincinnati Bengals have won the AFC Championship in overtime by a score of 27-24 over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty straightforward. Professional call there.
It was, not like a week ago.
No. This is the Rams now. This is 7:10 ESPN in L.A. Poor Pedro, poor Z. The Rams game-clinching interception of Jimmy G on the tip. Let's have a listen.
Back to Garoppolo. Pocket crumbling. He spins out. He's hit. He's wrapped up. He flips it forward. It's tipped. It's intercepted. It's intercepted. It's intercepted. Aaron Donald got pressure on Garoppolo, and Traven Howard clinches the NFC Championship game.
And here is the agony.
You'd almost think it's a one-man booth. You'd almost think it was a one-man booth compared to what we've heard before.
The Bengals side of things. This is KNBR in San Francisco. Their side, the agony of defeat on the same call.
Garoppolo back. Garoppolo now pressured. Spins out to his left. Garoppolo gets sacked. Threw it out. And it's intercepted. He threw it up in the air to Jermichael Hasty to avoid the sack. And the ball got intercepted. The Rams take over on the INT. And his linebacker, Traven Howard, that intercepts Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow, what a critical error. 2 critical errors in a row from Jimmy G.
Now, that would be the textbook way to do that.
Yes.
The way that was done on the last one there, where you get to you have to remember, we continue to be on the radio. You are painting a picture of what's happening. So the truth is as you are saying it. So if it's intercepted consistently, it's hard to get that message across, and it can muddy things, right? And it screws up the drama too.
I feel like Lapham could be a home run on the TV side. Like if Fox is looking for a good color analyst to go crazy.
You know what though, man? The crazy thing about radio is like sometimes those faults are strengths in certain markets. And they probably, I'm sure they love Dave. I'm sure they love him, Dave and Dan.
I said it last week. They're both class acts.
They're
good
awesome.
dudes.
Yeah.
And they both do a solid. I think Horde might be. Is he the voice of UC as well?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe he is. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're solid guys and they're really good broadcasters. Lapham just
can't help himself.
Well, you heard it. That's why I wanted to give context, because it's like someone told him to do that. I mean, he's been on network radio and TV and not done that.
Don't you think it's – but it's one thing to do a fan and be like you're in – like you're watching a game with buddies. It's another thing, though, to interject into – like he obviously doesn't give any thought to it. He gives no thought to it. Like he just is reacting in real time.
The biggest moment for the Bengals since '88.
Yeah.
I liken it to, in radio, and from my very, very brief experience, and also getting to listen to Jim and Doug for a long time, I liken it to, it's a relay race, right? The play-by-play guy gets to run with that baton as long as he wants, and then he's going to hand it off to you briefly. You get to make your point, and then you hand him back the baton. This is a situation where he takes his own baton, and now he's running with the baton.
Right.
Now you have two people running with batons. Who are they giving it to? What's going? Who knows?
It is. Yeah, they're both running the baton.
And
you lose the drama
of it. Baton and went the other way on the relay race.
Yeah.
You are losing the drama of it, though, because he is trying to set up, he's trying to paint a picture.
Which he does very well.
Which he does a great job. Dan's doing a great job drawing a picture, and then Dave just comes in with, oil paint and just throws it on it.
Oh, yeah.
Just throws it on it. Go, hell, well, just wait a second until I'm done with it. He's, what about this? Let's throw some green on it. It's wild. But it works, man. It works for them, and they're princes of men. They're good dudes. We've had them. I've had both of them on. I know you guys have had them both on. They're just great guys, and happy for the two of them that they get to go for a Lombardi here in a couple of weeks. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Buying or sell a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to move this season, they're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. I'll tell you one thing that I was pretty jacked up about watching the games this weekend was the commercial for the halftime show.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty strong.
I haven't been this excited for a Super Bowl halftime in a while. Like, I'm always entertained by it. I don't think any of them are bad, but I am unbelievably excited for this one.
It's prime for us. It's peak.
It's
formative
college.
Our
years,
youth.
like high
Our
school,
youth.
college. Yeah.
All the way through, really.
Yeah.
The question is, I'd be curious the prop, like, on over-under bleeps. Like, do they land the plane, so to speak, without any of that?
Does
And-
Tupac come back?
Hologram Tupac. It's all
I mean,
definitely in play.
this would be the
California.
stage if
College,
you
you're
wanted
not going
to
to do
just surprise.
California.
Well, they have.
California.
Can Kendrick Lamar do Tupac's part of that? They're doing that song, obviously.
They've got to do that song. I mean, they should all do it.
I'd
like a hologram Tupac. I'm fine with it.
The last Super Bowl I was at was 49ers Ravens, and the Ravens came out to "It's a Beautiful Day," and the 49ers came out to California Love, and that set it off. Like, it didn't matter who you were rooting for. Like, it was just when you heard that, you just went
1 minute. 1 minute.
That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome on that front. Yeah. By the way, in the Super, can we get back to remember when you were kids, they used to introduce every player on one side of the ball? Can we please get back to that? Instead of, here are your New England Patriots. The Patriots started that nonsense. Introduce the whole team.
Yeah.
No. Introduce the players.
Whole side. Yep, one side.
One
Full
side.
on.
Yep. Offense or defense,
You know
whatever.
what? I'm even better than that. If you don't want to do that, give me your top 12 players. We'll introduce
There you go.
them.
That's fine. But that was cool when you'd wait to see Joe Montana run out or see Jerry Rice run out or Lawrence
That
Taylor.
was the
Ford for the
Browns in
Niners,
the 80s, man.
34
You
Super Bowl.
wanted to
Loved
be you wanted to be watching the TV
Yeah.
when they announced the starters
It was cool.
10 minutes before kick.
It's still a great moment now. Every time they do it at First Energy, it's awesome. That's really, really cool. You're blowing it, boy.
You blew it.
We're back tomorrow. The next level is next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.